Just before we start the pod this week, I just want to give a little push to our Boro Breakdown shirt. It's going to be available to the 31st of January and it's not coming back. So if you want a fantastic Boro shirt for £30, then get it at S66 Sportswear. The link will be in the description below on your podcast provider and in the YouTube comments. Now, let's talk about the Boro, and we'll talk about the win against Watford, look ahead to Blackpool, and answer your podcast questions. This is the Boro Breakdown podcast, and this is all your Boro Matchday chatter in a pod.
Wants support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Ravanelli coming alive again. Juninho wants the ball played to him. Ravanelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with Johnny, Dana and Tom. We are the Boro podcast that gives you all of your Boro Matchday chatter in a podcast. And Boro won 2-0 against Watford. Goals from Akpom and Force gave Boro all 3 points, helped us move to third in the championship table with 45 points from 29 games. Dana Moll, how are you feeling in 3 words?
We are cooking, as my dad would say. Yeah, it's just brilliant to watch us at the moment, to be honest. I know obviously last week was not a great result for us. It wasn't a great performance, but what a way to bounce back against a side that are vying for promotion in the playoffs with us. Just a really, really good performance. And, that first half in particular left me purring. So I'm really happy. Whenever we've got a knockback under Carrick, we've got straight back up at the very next attempt. And that is the sign of a team that just is in a really good moment, despite having those little pushbacks at times. So yeah, we are cooking, and hopefully we could keep cooking all the way into the Sky Bet Championship playoffs, because there's truly, truly nothing better than a promotion battle. You're checking your Sky Sports app, seeing what the score is, and hoping and praying on other teams' downfalls. It's beautiful. It's peak EFL, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Yep, and Tom Green, and before you ask, no, you're not. How are you feeling in 3 words?
That joke was terrible. It's like more than 3 words, but checking for hotels would be my 3 this week. Just great performance yesterday, as Dana was saying, the ability to bounce back after horrendous defeat at Sunderland last week. It was great to play against Watford as well, who are always a difficult team to play against. I think even though they seem to have about 50 players out injured at the moment, they seem to have a pretty decent stockpile anyway. So it was still a good team that was playing yesterday, and I don't think we gave them a chance.
Well, my 3 words are going to be the 3 words that I always use when we win, and it's "we're going Tizzler," because we are fantastic. I really enjoyed yesterday. I thought we were really good in the first half. Second half could have been slightly better, but to play devil's advocate, I think we were really good, but I think we can be better, and I think we can definitely improve on what we were like yesterday. And I know fans will be like, "Oh, well, yeah, how can you not be happy with that?" I just think we can be better than that. There's parts of the game where we could have improved on in terms of passing, not being less wasteful, but we'll come to that in a moment. But let's talk about Watford, because there was 2 changes to the game again from the defeat to Sunderland. McNair and Archer came in for Fry and Crooks. Tom, what was your overall assessment of the game yesterday?
Just thought we played extremely well. There was a lot of quality one-touch football going on, I think more than we have seen in recent games as well. Thought the link up with the 4 attacking players, McGree, Akpom, Force and Archer, was fantastic. That some of the balls that were going through to Archer was just reminding me of, Boro must be going with proper FIFA 13 tactics here and just play through balls to the lad with 90 pace and get him on the end of it, because he was quick. And yeah, I thought he was unlucky not to get a goal. From the Watford side of things, like I said, they're always a strong team to play against. And going into it, there was a couple of players I had kind of in mind thinking these will be tough to play against. One was Keenan Davis, who, when he went off at half time, I was actually surprised he was even playing because I hadn't seen the Watford team before we started. And I was just like, we haven't even given him a sniff at goal, so he's just looked absolutely anonymous. The second one was Mateus Martins, who I signed 3 years ago on Footy Manager as part of me.
Of course.
Brazil's team, so I feel like I should have some sort of finder's fee for Watford from that. But yeah, it turns out he was nothing to be worried about. He had that one chance where he got through 1-on-1. He wouldn't have missed that on Footy Manager, but he does in real life. So
It was a glorious, glorious miss as well, wasn't it? I thought he was gonna. I was waiting for the net to bulge, and I was like, well, that didn't happen, did it? But Dynamo, you said you were purring at the first half yesterday, like a cat. Are you still feeling like a cat now? Are you happy with that performance yesterday?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, yeah, just echo what Tom said about some of the really slick, intricate play that we were watching, down that left-hand side. And then on the right as well, Tommy Smith providing those overlaps and making sure that Marcus Force got space. Riley McGree in that floating role, who I think is going underappreciated a little bit, because although he's not registering goals, assists probably at the volume that we would want from him, but he's playing such a vital part in this team, drawing players out of position, vacating those key pockets of a football match, and then allowing Giles just that open space to be able to exploit like an airport. But it's just brilliant. The way that we were playing yesterday was, honestly, it was sensational at times, and I was a bit disappointed in the end that we didn't make it more than 2, because I think we probably should have done. But it was just controlling that second half, and we probably did let up a few more attacks. The XG in the first half was 0.36. The XG in the second half was 0.82. So we still conceded a few attacks. Probably could have conceded a lot more opportunities. But I must say, I was really disappointed with Watford. I thought their organisation was absolutely terrible throughout the first half in particular, but the whole match in its entirety. They just looked at 6s and 7s. But take nothing away from Boro. I thought we were excellent, and it was one of those real statement wins that makes you think, okay, we're in a really good moment. As I said, we can continue this, and I was just really, really happy that we played the way that we did, because we were fantastic.
Yeah, and how important was it, Tom, that we were able to bounce back as well from last week's defeat? I know we were a bit down after the game. You were very angry in our group chat about it as well. But to have those setbacks and then to come back, beat someone who's above you in the league, a Premier League quality side, really in terms of individuals within the group, and to turn them over and to do the way we did. How important was it that we've gained confidence from that, and then also the ability to kick on as well in the next few games?
I mean, just to clarify, I'm still annoyed because I always expected us to beat Watford. So I did want 7 or 9 points out of the last 3 games. But yeah, it is really important. And I think we did see kind of early signs of it against Brighton. That type of result could really knock a team's confidence, conceding that many and, being absolutely played off the park, to be fair. But bounced back straight away afterwards. And then against Sunderland as well, it's a game where I feel like it was the first one we didn't score in under Carrick, if I'm remembering rightly.
Yeah.
We've been kept out and not scored in that game. It's very different to the Brighton game, but could easily knock confidence. And you wouldn't have noticed anything different in that performance yesterday. If anything, we looked more confident. I was just thinking there with how Dana was talking about the Watford team with no organisation. So if we were playing around them like they were them kind of I don't know what the word is for them. The yellow man things that they have on the training ground.
Oh, like
The dummies. That'd be it.
dummies,
They're playing around them like they were just dummies on the training grounds. We were so good against them yesterday, and like I say, some of that one touch passing we were seeing, there's absolutely no visible signs of any effect on confidence from last week. So I think that does show a real kind of resilience in the squad, and it is something that you need to be finishing in the playoffs.
I was really
And
surprised at their setup yesterday. Sorry, Johnny, just because,
no.
they were playing a three at the back. And I text Luke, obviously, our resident Watford fan, probably gets more mentions on this than anyone else. But I said to him, is Chowdhury playing right centre back here? And he was like, oh, no, he just drops really deep. And then that just stuck through the rest of the game. So I was like, they're playing a three at the back. And they've got Mario Gaspar, who's a defender, who's a right back by trade, playing as a defender in a position that I think Hamza Chowdhury should have been playing in. So it was very odd setup from Bilic. And I think I don't want to focus too much on Watford, but I think there's probably a lack of organisation there and maybe problems from a coaching side of things. But our play midfield, the press, the drive from Hackney in particular, pushing onto them, vacating the spaces that they were leaving him behind. It was just a really, really good game and a really good tactical sort of matchup. Well, Boro won it, and it was brilliant to watch.
Yeah, and I think obviously with the Gaspar stuff, again, I didn't expect him to play in that central position yesterday, but I also thought with him playing there, it gave Boro a big advantage because it felt like you could sense he was uncomfortable being there. Also, I didn't understand why Chowdhury was playing right centre half either. If you switch them over, it might give him a little bit more balance. But in terms of like Boro yesterday and like how we were able to create chances, to be honest, I thought we created a lot of our chances yesterday because of how poor Watford were. If you look at like the average positions of it, I feel like we had one. I'd say one side of our game plan yesterday. I was hoping to try and find a clip for it, but I couldn't find it. But when we look at like the average positions of the game, I feel like Boro targeted that right hand side with Marcus Forss and Tommy Smith, and because they used Sarr as the person because of his probably low defensive rate, really. With him not being able to track back as much, Boro were able to get the 2v1 on that right hand side, which obviously with that space in between, you're getting in behind from that, but then also the central areas as well. I think with Boro the last few games, I think the more we can control those central areas and really dominate in the midfield with Hackney, House, and get Akpom within that and try and bring players forward, we just create so much space on the width, on the width of the wide areas. Sorry, and I think that helps us really getting behind teams and really create an advantage. But also with Cameron Archer too, like his ability yesterday to turn the defenders on a sixpence, and also uses if for someone who was very small, outwitted a lot of people who were taller than him, which I thought was really impressive as well. But in terms of how we were able to create chances, I think it was Watford. I think they were just poor in possession or pressed really, really well. And when we're looking at even at goal kicks as well, where the goalkeeper was putting the ball at the centre of the box, there's a really nice balance towards. There was 5 on one side, 5 on the other side. Nothing much too over leaning. And it just gave Boro the ability to kind of press when we needed to. And I feel like that recovery was really, really good, and we were thoroughly deserving of our chances in victory yesterday. But in terms of like the first goal, really good counter attack, and then we were a bit fortunate, I think, with Akpom
It was
from
an
third
ugly
time.
goal. It was a beautifully ugly goal, and it travelled in
Mm.
slow motion.
I didn't think it was going to go in, to be honest.
No, neither.
And with that as well, you thought, oh, Archer's going to score here. That heavy touch, and you go, oh no, he's absolutely wasted. You did so well, and then Akpom somehow dinks it by accident, and then somehow heads it in. But when your luck is there and you're scoring goals and you're about to sign a deal to sell your book in the Cleveland Centre, things happen. But the second goal, Dana, it is a really well worked goal from us, isn't it? As you take a sip of your
Sorry,
water,
that was quite possibly the worst timing ever taking a sip of water. I mean, we've scored so many good goals under Carrick, and this one I really enjoyed. I think we took advantage of Watford's lack of organisation. Really, I mean, if you're a Watford fan watching that goal back and you're looking at the amount of space that Johnny Howson has to basically just dictate whatever he wants to do from that point onwards, that is ridiculous. I mean, that area that Howson, is in is where really you think Hamza Chowdhury should be. A really sort of tough tackling, hard hitting midfielder, a bit of a shit house. You probably want him in that position, but it's really good, picking out Howson, and then Howson has options there. He's got Cameron Archer making a run on the inside of Kamara, and then Force is making that run into space behind Sierralta, and Hamza Chowdhury comes and pushes towards Howson because he really has to. Is the only option there to be able to do that, because all of the players around him, the midfielders, are basically chasing back. They're already at a disadvantage at that point, and it was a really good move because we've got a lot of runners there. You've got Akpom making a run as well. You've got Archer spinning on the inside of Kamara. You've got Marcus Force obviously pointing, doing that Andres Sparra, wanting that ball in behind. And Howson's just got so much time to be able to spot that opportunity and to obviously play that pass. And Sierralta is pretty much, what's a better word for a family friendly word for, I can't say, I'm just going to say fucked. He was fucked in that situation, to be honest, because I couldn't think of a synonym. I'm so sorry. You might need to bleep that out. But
We like to
he's
apologise if anyone was offended with that language.
he's got no chance there, to be honest. He's up against it. He's got two men running sort of on the outside of him. He's got a man running the inside of Kamara. It's a massive struggle for Sierralta in that position, but Force is the most on option there, and he plays a pass through to him. And Force is really good in this situation because, that goal kind of reminds me of when Albert Adoma took the ball sort of beyond David Button and just delayed it a little bit to probably wait for that more advantageous shooting opportunity. But I think with this, it actually plays out quite difficult for Force because in the end, the XG of that shot is 0.29, which is incredibly low. Bachmann comes out, Kamara and Ferrari sort of try to squeeze the space, but he puts the ball where he can only really put the ball, to be honest, because you've got to think about it. They're shifting towards the right side of the goal as Force is looking at it. He can't curve it towards that corner. He has to put it back across where it came from. And I think that's the sign of a really good finisher. It goes through Daniel Bachmann's legs. He's got three players there trying to block the goal from him. And he just ever so casually just puts it through Bachmann's legs into the back of the net. And of course, he finishes that with a knee slide, the first knee slide club of 2023. I whipped my phone out so quickly to take a photo because he left an incredible mark on the pitch of the knee slide that I need to zoom into. It was just superb. It was there for a while. But yeah, really good goal. I do apologise for my language. But yeah, really, really good goal. Enjoyed it. And Marcus Force, 5 goals, 3 assists this season. Not bad for somebody that Chris Wilder just didn't really deem a starter at that point. So yeah, really good for Marcus Force.
I just want to quickly go back then on the knee slide graphic number 2. It's a good graving of the grass there. I think it's a nice slide. We're talking about a couple of yards there, I think. So
he put some passion into it as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one because obviously it's a big goal just before half time. It's a nice little slide, a bit of passion there. Everyone loves a bit of passion every now and again, don't they? So I would probably give that. I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. I think I'm not gonna be too judgy. I think I don't think it's gonna be a 9 or 10s. I think a 9 or 10s where like probably I'd say a 10 is. Do you remember when Sol Campbell does that slide tackle and he just falls off the pitch? I would say that's a 10. Like if you were to slide all the way through, but for me, I think that's a 7.
To be fair, Marcus Force has given us an absolute stinker of a knee slide. But also, he has given us a 10 out of 10 against Blackpool, which was just absolutely delightful. The lovely little swoop, and he gets up. It's brilliant. So, I think 7's probably fair. If I was to maybe push it up to a 7.5, I probably would. But yeah, really good. I'm glad that it was Marcus Force that gave us the first knee slide of 2023.
Yeah, my love for Marcus Force is only increasing. But Tom, there's another player that a lot of fans seem to have loved yesterday. It was Cameron Archer, first league start of the season for him against Aston Villa. He didn't start at all. It was his first league start for Boro. But he was majestic yesterday. So give me your thoughts on Cameron Archer.
Yeah, a fantastic performance yesterday. Such a turn of pace on him. I thought for the build up to the first goal. I mean, firstly, what a pass from Ryan Giles inside his own box to Neely assist it. But just the way he kind of effortlessly knocked it past the Watford player. The only thing that let him down there was a heavy first touch at the end, but he was offering just such a different style of attacking for us, one we've not had for the previous parts of the season. I mean, Akpom and Force can do well in terms of their positional movement, and they've both got a fair amount of pace on them. He was something else yesterday, and I just think I'm really excited on what that's going to offer us in games moving forwards, and especially with Balassa, potentially coming into the team as well. Having seen some of the highlights from Rotherham he's had, and some of the absolutely fantastic through balls he can produce, I think that's just going to work so well with Cameron Archer as well.
There was a moment in that first half where he had it and there was nobody around him. There was no option on for him really, and everyone around me was saying he's got no support. And he puts it, I think, between Cathcart. He knocks it between Cathcart and Sierralta. Just says see you later. Just spins beyond them. And at that moment, I was like, yeah, he's a good player, isn't he? I mean, well before that, because I think that was deep into the first half. Well before that, I was thinking, yeah, we've got a good player here, and everything that we probably needed against Sunderland. So I'm really glad that Carrick has eased him into things, and that he's a starter, or hopefully he's a starter now. Because honestly, he's some signing for us. I don't think any team in the Championship can make a better signing than Boro signing Cameron Archer.
Or we could say Dan Balassa. You never know, because he could be a better
Yeah.
signing. But who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I really liked Archer yesterday as well. I think he changes Boro's attacking dynamic a lot. I think we're a lot more fluid in our play, and we're able to get in behind teams a lot quicker than we have done previously. I think sometimes with Crooks, although it's very, very good, it just offers something a little bit different. I think with Crooks, you've got to try and play him to feet, and the ball through is sometimes a bit rare. Whereas we can probably do both with Archer. He can hold up if he needs to, but more of it, he's much better playing that half turn, and he's getting him behind really, really well. And it was really good to see him come into the team yesterday, do really well, but also to play with the likes of McGree, Akpom, and Force, and himself, all like connecting really, really well. Boro just attacking brilliantly. But let's move on to the post-match stuff then, because Carrick said on BBC T, like, we created a lot of chances. I lacked a final pass, which at times, which shows there's still a little bit of work to do. Tom, are you happy the way that Carrick is not fully satisfied, even though it's a great win for us?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of my favourite things to see in a manager or a head coach, where they come out after the game say never fully satisfied. There's always very high standards to reach, and I would tend to agree with him on this one. I think the one that stands out to me, the bit of play yesterday, where I'm thinking the final ball wasn't completely there, was in the second half. Riley McGree took it across the face of the box. He had Tommy Smith on the overlap on the right hand side, but instead he pulled it back onto his left foot, which got a few groans from people around me. Tried a through ball, didn't come off. It got picked off from the defenders. I think because we were 2-0 up, I don't think that really made too much of an impact, but I think if it was 0-0 at the time and we're in search of a goal, I think that more might have been made out of that. So for me, I mean, it's always kind of like worth trying that type of thing. I think especially at 2-0, if you can try a kind of like risky through ball where you do risk giving up possession, then that's absolutely fine. But yeah, it could have been a lot more than 2-0 yesterday. So I do agree with what Carrick had to say on that subject, and yeah, all for it.
Brilliant. So let's move on to questions, because every podcast you get the chance to send us a question via Twitter at Boro_breakdown, email BoroBreakdown@hotmail.com, or by joining our Telegram chat, where there's over 300 Boro fans talking anything but Boro, and mainly rinsing Luke yesterday. Anyway, so the first question is from Ben. He says, will Balassa start for us regularly this season, and who should we drop for him? Dana Moll, you can take this one. Will Balassa start for us regular this season, and who should we drop him for?
I think I'm not sure, to be honest, is my answer to that. It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think our midfield has been really good. Both Houghton and Hackney individually and as a duo have been performing really well, and then have been a key part to our form under Carrick, having only lost 4 games under him in all competitions. For me, I think he's the long-term replacement for Howson. Whether or not he will get in for him and start in place of him regularly, I'm not so sure. We've seen it with Cameron Archer that Carrick quite like to ease him in gently and probably get him up to speed with probably the connectivity with him and Akpom and players around him. Obviously, Akpom's come out and said that he's working on his teammates' games, so maybe that was just the case with Cameron Archer as well. Might be the case with Dan Barlasser, but I think, honestly, in the short term, he might come in for Hayden Hackney. I just think it's probably easier to rotate him with Hackney because it's the reason of, oh yeah, well, he's a young player. This is his first season in the Championship. His minutes need to be managed. I'd be more surprised if Howson does get dropped in the short term. But I definitely think mid to long term he is a Howson replacement because you've got to think about that dynamic in midfield. I don't think Dan Barlas is necessarily somebody that could take something on the half turn and then sort of pass the ball from there. Although I think in certain highlights I've seen, he has done that, but I probably have more confidence in Hayden Hackney doing that. So long term, I think you're probably looking at them too. But in the short term, I honestly think Howson might come in and out of the side for him. But it's good options to have, Dawn, really good options to have in midfield. The quality that Dan Barlasser possesses, the performances that we've seen from Howson and Hackney. It's just a really good headache for Michael Carrick to have.
It is, and I agree with you, Dan. I think he's going to probably replace Howson, and probably rightly so, to be honest. As much as everyone loves Johnny Howson, he is in his mid-30s, and we need someone to replace him. So Dan Barlas is a really good replacement for that as well. But next question is from Nick, and I'm going to come to you, Tom. And he says, do you think we need a couple in before the window closes? Appreciate we have got Archer and Barlasser in now if we want to finish in the playoffs. So do you think we need a couple more?
I wouldn't say so. I think we're third at the moment on merit, and we can keep it going. What I would like to see before the end of the window, kind of just more of a nice to have at the moment. But I'd like to see us bring in someone for the right wing. I think Force has been doing really well playing there. I just think we do need someone offering something different there. Obviously, we've got Isaiah Jones, who hopefully Carrick's going to be managing back up to his previous form. But I just think another option there, someone kind of like in the mold of, Ogbene, as mentioned, was the other day, or like it was mentioned a while ago as kind of like an unrealistic signing, but Sergi Canos. Like if we can get someone similar to that type of player on the right hand side, just to offer something a little bit different to Force, who's a bit direct, I think that could be a pretty good signing to make. But I do like the strategy that we're going with at the moment, that we're not just going to sign players for the sake of it. We've got a list of players who we want, and a lot of stuff can happen in the last couple of days towards the deadline. If certain players do become available and we can get them on loan, then great. If not, then I think the squad we've got at the moment is good enough to still get playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, if we were to bring probably one or two in, I'd probably say left midfield would be somewhere where we can look to strengthen. Giving us a different alternative to McGree, and probably someone who's more focused on the wing as well, and wants to play wide and try and stretch teams. Appreciate we use a lot of our width through Giles, and that's great. And he's had a load of assists this season. He's been excellent. But also just to double up on those times, two natural wingers on that left hand side, sorry, could cause a lot of problems, and you can stack it with overloads and stuff like that. So that could be something we could look at. Who knows? I'm not Kieran Scott. But the next question, it's from Mike, and says, do the panel expect any departures before the transfer deadline day? All of us will answer this one. So Dana, do you want to go first on this one? Do you expect any departures?
I do. I think Muniz, most likely. I also think, well, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw on my notifications that Alex Moore has had his loan deal terminated. I know he obviously came on towards the end of the game, but I just can't really see it now that we've signed Dan Barlasser. I wouldn't be surprised if West Brom loan him out to another team, because I do think they're signing Lewis O'Brien, which, going back to what I said about, I don't think another Championship club could make a better signing than Cameron Archer. I think that's probably the closest you'll get. But yeah, I think them two probably will depart. I wouldn't be surprised if a youngster or two goes out on loan, like Carl Kavanagh, potentially. Maybe Darnell Fisher. I mean, there's massive question marks over him. The last time that he was really mentioned was that Derby were interested in him. I don't even know if he's fit, to be honest. I know he was in training pitches not that long ago. So potentially Darnell Fisher, but I don't think it'll be any major surprises, to be honest.
Yeah, and there's a lovely tweet on Twitter at the moment with Daniel Fisher and Yannick Bolasie, and if anyone wants to see that, just have a look at Yannick Bolassie's tweets. Anyway, Tom, do you think there's any departures coming before transfer deadline day?
I mean, first off, I love that we're being referred to as the panel now. It sounds very
very professional, isn't it? Very
on
professional.
BBC Tees. But no, I'd agree with Dana on this one. I don't think there's any going to be any like massive shock ones out there. I think Rodrigo Muniz is probably the one most odds on to go back or go somewhere else. And yeah, I also wouldn't be surprised if Alex Mowatt had his deal cut short either after the sign of Dan Malassa. So I would say it's those two. I don't think there'll be anyone else kind of around the first team who leaves, but who knows? Like I said in the last question, a lot of stuff can happen. The last couple of days of the window, the club have said in articles the last week or so, we don't have to let anyone go, but if there's a good opportunity for a player who's going to get more football elsewhere and they're not currently in the starting 11 and they pay the price, then they could go. So, you know, maybe that's the only situation in that that someone does leave, but I don't see any surprises coming.
Maybe Matthew Hoppy. I know he's sort of in and around his knees, in and out of the matchday squad. Maybe Matthew Hoppy, a loan spell. Definitely don't think we'll get rid of him on a permanent deal, but just to develop him a little bit and let him have his football, because we haven't really seen too much of him since he's joined, have we? And also when Tom was talking there, Luke Daniels came up in my head. Obviously, he's been rumoured to be of interest to other clubs. So yeah, you're probably looking at players that are not really involved so much. So again, no major surprises, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. I think other than that, I think I don't think there's any more names, to be honest. I can kind of pluck out my brain, but yeah, I think you're all spot on there. But then the next question's from Ben. I'll take this one. He says, "Do you think Villa will be willing to let Archer go permanently in the summer?" No chance. Absolutely no chance. I think he signed a 4.5-year deal in the summer, and although Unai Emery's brought in a couple of forwards in this window, I just think the kid's got so much potential and he's a really, really good talent. I think Villa would be mad to let him go in the summer. Maybe another loan deal, depending on where we are next year. But for me, you can't let if you're Aston Villa, you do not let Archer go at all. You'd be a fool. Fool, I tell you. Anyway, next one. It's from Boro and Wayne as well. And they said, "Can we catch Sheffield United?" Dana, can we catch Sheffield United?
No.
No. Okay, then let's move on to the next question. Then, so let's go on to the praise and place then, because the praise and place is the place where to give praise to a player, coaching staff, fan, haircut person, hairdresser. Sorry, I'm going to think of the word. And then I don't know, a lot of random stuff which we like to praise. Who should go first? Tom Green, who was in your praise and place this week?
Honestly, after yesterday, it was the whole team. I really had a lot of difficulty, picking out just one player or even two just to put in the praise and place this week. It was a great team performance. Everyone played well. So yeah, I'm going to just put everyone who was on the pitch yesterday.
Okay, I feel sorry for the unused subs. Dana, who's in your...
I don't. They did nothing.
Can I put the hairdresser person in it? A haircut person.
The haircut person.
You know what? I'm going to go for Paddy McNair, because I remember when Paddy McNair when Darren Lenihan was out and everybody was sort of thinking ahead and putting the pieces to the puzzle together of, oh God, Paddy McNair is going to be in the team. And, he has performed well when he's been in. He performed well against Millwall. I thought he performed well yesterday. And I think he just deserves a bit of credit, to be honest, because that sort of trepidation that was met with his name being in the starting 11 again, I think was maybe a little bit harsh, because let's not forget, Paddy McNair was a really, really good player for us for the most part of last season. And then before that as well, he's been a really, really key performer for us. And so I'm really kind of confused. I've never been the biggest fan of him, I must admit. But this sort of doom that sort of thrashed upon McNair whenever he's mentioned in the conversation about being in the team is a bit strange to me. But I think he's been good when he's come into the starting 11. But I agree with Tom. I think there's so many players that you can say yesterday. Archer was brilliant. Hackney really took control of that midfield with that drive, committing players to him with the runs that he made. Lenihan as well, just providing the perfect centre-back partner for anybody that accompanies him. Tommy Smith, absolutely brilliant. There's just so many. But I think for me, just because I want to give him credit, I'm going to go with Paddy McNair.
Okay, then I'm gonna go with I was gonna say Tommy Smith, but I feel like he got a lot of praise yesterday. So I'm
He
not gonna
did.
give him. I'm just gonna be rogue and not put him in now. But no, I think he deserves a lot of praise. Tommy Smith, he's been excellent. He's came at the side on the Carrick, and he's just been excellent every game. Just it's not like he's hitting 9s and 10s every week. It's just a steady 7, 6 and 7. And you just need that in your team, don't you? You just need someone who's going to be consistent every week, not give too much away, and someone you can rely on. And he does that, and he was excellent yesterday. But also just Marcus Force, because I love Marcus Force. I will give my heart, my soul, and my key to my house to Marcus Force. I just really enjoy him. I really enjoy. I know he's coming to the side, he's playing on the right hand side, which isn't his natural position by any means, but he's just able to find those little pockets of space, which is a very cliche thing to say. But also getting behind, and also just a really, really good finisher. You can rely on him, and to be honest, if you wanted to move him central next season, by all means move him central, because he will get you goals. And I really enjoy him.
Can I
But
just
yeah.
say on the back of that, the finishes that we have in our team, the goal threats that we have in our team, Force, Atpom, Archer, it's like uncharted territory for us Boro fans. Ever since I've been supporting this football club, we've been a primarily defensive team. We pride ourselves on our clean sheets, but we're getting clean sheets and we're scoring goals. We're one of the highest scorers in the championship. We've got the league's top goal scorer. What's going on? This is like Earth 2 in Arrow or something. What how are we how has this happened? It's just very strange. But yeah, it's really, really good. Honestly, it's everything that I think every Boro fan has wanted for the longest time. Goal threats in this team, and we've got 3 of them. 3 of them in the starting 11 yesterday was just, it's brilliant.
And if you want to curse Mildred Football Club, just like
Oh
Dana has
no,
there,
don't.
you can get your malt
Don't.
shirt t-shirt now exclusively at teesside.co.uk/the
No,
Borough
Johnny.
Breakdown merch. And 100% of the proceeds goes to the Motor Neuron Association, where we are trying to raise £3,000 this season. Thanks, Dana, because I was wondering how I was going to get that in today, and I have. But thank you for cursing every single Borough striker for the next 50 years.
Oh no.
Well, Bernie Slavin will be happy down there, because no one else will be able to rival his book sales. Anyway, Dan Balassa, let's have a quick chat about him, because we are doing a separate video and podcast on Dan Balassa. It's going to be a lowdown. You'll get that probably Monday as well. So if you're listening to us on Monday, it'll probably be in your podcast provider on YouTube as well. So more content for you. But 900k Borough paid for him, rising to 1.5 million, 3.5-year deal. So I want to hear your overall assessment and thoughts, really, guys, because we are doing a much more deep dive on him. But Dana Moll, are you happy with Dan Balassa? Because I'm sure you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said it before, but I've liked Dan Barlasser for a while, and I've had a list actually of players in my phone that have stood out to me, either stats wise or they've passed the eye test. And I've referred to this before, but when we had Connor Ripley on loan at Accrington, Dan Barlasser was in the Accrington Stanley team, and I just remember loads of Newcastle fans were purring about him, and looking at the highlights of Accrington, he really stood out. So I'm really happy that we've brought in a player that was a target for us back in 2018, I believe, or 2017, around that time, and we have sort of hit this market of good players in poor performing teams. I think that's probably our little niche there, the market that we can really sort of attack and take advantage of. So I'm really, really happy. It gives us a different option in midfield. And yeah, good value as well. 900k initial fee. Brilliant. Really good value. And I think we'll just add to the quality in our midfield and our team overall.
Tom? If you just
Yep,
mute
Hey, take your mute off.
Oh, what a nightmare. Also a big fan of this deal. I'm just a big fan of our transfer business in general this season. It really seems like we're being clever with who we're signing, like when we're signing them, and really trying to get the most value out of the deal. I mean, 900k for Dan Balassa's absolute steal if he can replicate what he did stats-wise for Rotherham for us. But also, it seems like now we're really addressing very obvious gaps in the team, or obvious areas that we do need to improve for long term. Which I can't say I've seen the same from in seasons past. Probably even going back to when we were relegated to the Championship. I think we've had a lot of windows where we're signing players in certain positions, and we're like, right, what about centre back? Because we're signing no one there. Oh, we'll sign Ryan Shotton right in close to the deadline, or we don't have any strikers, but we've got an abundance of wingers now. It really seems like now we've really got a plan of where we're trying to strengthen in the team. So really happy with this deal and most of the business that we've done this season.
Yeah, and I can echo what you've both said. Really, I think the business that we are doing is excellent, and also like we're finding players that obviously you were saying there, Dana, around like good performers in underperforming team. I just feel like having that gem, and also finding someone who you can really sell on for much more profit in the future is a really good business model for us to run. And you don't have to spend millions of pounds to make a good football team. There's really good footballers in every division in football. It's just trying to find the right one that suits your football team. And the Boro have been able to do that over this last season. And I'm hoping we can continue this trend of just keep trying to buy these players at a good value, selling them on. But we'll see more of that probably the next 2 or 3 seasons. And this is a really long process. And I don't know, fans want instant success and they want to sign £30 million players and all that kind of fun stuff. And if you're like Newcastle United, you're signing Claire Baldwin for 40 million, but we just don't have that money, to be honest. And yeah, I'm really enjoying like what we're doing at the moment. So all aboard the Dan Balasser train for me. I'm very impressed, and I can't wait to do a lowdown video on him because it's going to be really fun to dissect. But let's move on to Blackpool, shall we? And used to us, we're absolutely creased at that Claire Baldwin job.
Yeah, I'm sad that we were both on mute because that was pretty good.
Does look like Claire Baldwin, it really does. Anyway. Boro welcome Mick McCarthy's Blackpool. Yes, the Mick McCarthy. I feel like he's been going for about 100 years to the Riverside. And the last league win for Blackpool was in October. So there's the bullet curse this week. But to get a bit more insight on Blackpool this season, we spoke to Tom from Up the Mighty Pool Pod to find out a little bit more.
The appointment of Mick McCarthy has been an interesting one, really. I think it obviously contradicts everything that we've probably done under Simon Sadler in his 3-year stewardship of the club. So we were trying to build slowly under a progressive young manager in Neil Critchley, sign young players from the lower leagues and polish them up into the diamonds that they've become and sell them on and then reinvest, almost the Brentford and Brighton model. Unfortunately, it's fair to say the board made a strange decision in the summer. Obviously, Critchley did walk out on us and left us with a little wiggle room and in a sort of A time when we were looking to build. We weren't stable in the Championship. We'd only had one season, and we were going into season 2. To lose your manager at that point, and also go with someone who's walked out on the club before and had a fractured relationship with the fans in Michael Appleton, it was quite clear that wasn't going to work long term from the off, and unfortunately that's now left us in a bit of a relegation battle. So hence the short-term appointment of Mick McCarthy. So clearly the board's arguably panicked a little bit, gone with an experienced head, changed the philosophy from what Michael Appleton was trying to do, particularly early on, where we were quite open and expansive in our style. And now we've brought in a centre half who's 6'4" and has a long throw on him. So it's quite clear to see in Charlie Good that we're looking to stay up at all costs. So putting all of the wider context to one side, I think it is a decent appointment in the short term, and he should keep us up. And then it's a case of almost starting from scratch really in the summer. Hopefully that gives a bit of a summary on the season so far as well. It started with promising signs in terms of the style of play and trying to open up a little bit on what we were doing last season, but clearly the balance hasn't worked and we've been far too leaky at the back, whilst also not really having a clear proven goal scorer at this level at the other end as well, having lost our key man in Josh Bowler. Bowler's back, and it's going to be interesting to see how we set up. Mick McCarthy's well known to like 5 at the back. We've obviously signed a couple of centre halves this window as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see 3 centre halves in against Middlesbrough with 2 slight wing backs / full backs. But yeah, it's a little bit up in the air in terms of the actual style of play we might be looking at. Against Southampton in the Cup, we had one up front, so it might be that we opt for that, but also go with some forwards from out wide as well to try and bring an extra dimension to our play and slot Josh Bowler in the hole. In terms of prediction, I think we would take a point at this point just to get Mick McCarthy off the board. I am quite confident that we'll go and really battle and work hard to try and impress the new manager as well. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Thank you very much for that, Tom. And Tom is expecting a 1-1 draw against Boro next weekend. I just want to hear your thoughts, guys, because this could be a really big banana skin for Boro, to be honest. New manager bounce potentially for Blackpool, and they need the 3 points as well to try and get out the relegation places. So, Dana, how are you feeling about this game next Saturday against Blackpool?
I'm feeling confident, which worries me slightly because, as you said, it could be a game that Boro sort of slip over or shoot themselves in the foot in. It is a test. I think I would honestly say it's just as big of a test as the Watford game yesterday because we've beaten a team at the top end of the table. Now we need to beat a team at the bottom end of the table, and I think you can maybe get a little bit complacent. You could get maybe ahead of yourselves. I mean, I don't think that the Boro players will, but probably the fans might, because I think Carrick has instilled this calmness and this level-headedness in this Boro squad. So I think they could probably approach this game in the right way. But you never know in this division, do you? I think that's probably going to be one of Brian Gunn's next super cuts of the Championship. Anyone could beat anyone, but it's going to be. I think it is going to be tough. But if it's anything like the game at Bloomfield Road, then we're going to be absolutely lapping it up and loving it because that was some performance. We just need to replicate that, really. They've got a few injuries. They're, on a sort of descent rather than an ascent. So, yeah, it's. I'm confident, but I feel like I should be worried about that.
Mm. Tom, are you echoing this confidence or not?
Yeah, and as with what Dan has just said, I also don't know if I should be worried about that because it's not something you're really used to as a Boro fan. So, but I do think we will win next week, but I do think it's going to be a hard game. I'm thinking more. The type of game where when we last got promoted, it took quite a while to break a team down. Then we might go and get a second afterwards. I think they will come here, trying to get the point to get Mick McCarthy off the mark and build a little bit of positive momentum for them. I do think we should have too much for them, but I think when you're going up against a team who likely going to play 5 at the back and are coming for a point. Well, more than likely a point. I don't want to kind of put them down or anything, but I would say that's the more likely outcome for them. I can just see them making it hard and kind of potentially sitting in a low block to try and keep us out. So I think we get a goal probably early second half. Then they have to come out, and then we'll go on and get another one as well. So personally, I'll go for a 2-0 win next week.
Yeah, this game for me is going to be completely different to when we played the Million in the season. I think under Appleton, like Tom was mentioning, they were quite an expansive side, but like under Mick McCarthy, they're going to be a lot more compact. It's going to be a low block, trying to defend their edge of the box, and they have brought in a couple of centre halves now, and it just feels to me that they're going to say, well, you know what, knock the ball in the box because we're just going to head it away and hoof it in the channels. Which probably isn't the thing that Blackpool fans want to really hear, but I think that's how they're going to try and set up against Boro on the Saturday, and I think it's going to be a really, really difficult game for us. But if we can unlock their defence, show our attacking qualities, which we have done in the last game against Watford, I don't think we'll have anything to worry about. But Dana, what's your score prediction? Because you didn't give me one, so what are you going to go for? This tension.
4-0 Boro.
4-0. Oh, God, all right, okay. We'll wrap this up now then. So 2-0 from Tom, 4-0 from Dana, and I'll say 2-1 Boro because I feel like they might just score from absolutely nothing. Well, thank you very much, Dana and Tom. Thank you very much for joining me as always. And to listeners and the viewers, thank you very much for watching and listening to us. But don't forget to rate this podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and also give it a thumbs up on YouTube as well. And if you're not subscribing, like the 35% of you that haven't, subscribe because it helps us get found and charted and all that fun stuff. But Boro climbed to 3rd. Is it time to book the hotel? This has been the Boro Breakdown podcast, and that was our Boro Match Day chatter in a pod. Up the Boro Breakdown.